My estranged sister. The same sister that disappeared years ago. My family put out missing reports because they didn't know where she was. It's because she was out stealing and hanging with the wrong crowd. Well, she just showed up out of the blue because she's coming for my family inheritance because my family passed away, my mom and my dad, and she thinks she can just waltz right in here and take it. Well, you know what? I have something coming for her. I've been getting myself into some serious family drama, and I need some advice on how to get myself out of it. I have a really complicated relationship with my family, actually just my sister. My older sister was always a handful, there's no other way to put it. She was a kid with a knack for trouble, quite the classic case of that, and I was too young to understand her behavior back then. But I do remember the feeling of chaos that she brought into our lives. When I was 13, she got into a really big argument with my parents and ran away from home. She was 15. I guess you could say that was a turning point, but it wasn't that big of a shock to me. I had sort of expected something bad to happen. Despite her absence, or maybe because of it, my parents poured all of their love and attention into me. So I just grew up surrounded by the support for literally everything that I wanted to do with my life. Which was absolutely a blessing. I've always been a good student, and more so after my sister left. But it was not all perfect. I guess I felt the responsibility to make my parents proud and happy. Now that I'm the only one left, I threw myself into my studies and eventually built a solid career in banking. When I reached the point where I could afford it, I planned this grand trip abroad, an all-expensive paid vacation to thank them for everything. It was supposed to be a beautiful moment for us, a way to create new, happy memories. But life has a way of disrupting plans. Just before we were set to leave, my parents passed away in a very tragic accident. It was sudden, it was brutal, and to be honest, I'm still struggling. One minute I was envisioning our dream trip, the next I was standing at their funeral, numb. The worst part was that they got hit by an irresponsible drunk driver. I'm still trying, going to court for this, but even then it's been months. And the guy is obviously in the wrong, but that's a long story for another day. All in all, sorting through their things, handling the estate, it was all so bitterly surreal. The only silver lining is that I would get to inherit the family estate. It felt like a hollow victory, but victory nevertheless. I had everything they left behind, and I did not want to make sure everything is, not taken care of. So here's where it got a lot messy and uglier. Just as I was starting to feel a tiny bit better about life, my estranged sister just popped up like a Pokemon. I had not seen her in years, not since she ran off 16 years ago. The worst part is that she wasn't even there at my parents' funeral, but she had the audacity just to show up at my door and ask if they had anything left for her. Guys, can you believe it? I mean, really, can you honestly believe it? I know. I couldn't. She was gone for over a decade, and now here she is, demanding her share of the inheritance. Can you just think about that for a second? It felt like a punch to the gut. I mean, come on. Her sudden just reappearance felt opportunistic and insincere. Given her past, I suspected her motives were far more genuine. I mean, come on. I know what you might think at this point. She's still my sister after all, right? She's already lived a difficult life. Why make it even more difficult for her? Yeah, good point, right? Well, let me tell you. This is the same sister who had a notorious history of stealing for years, before she just straight up ran away from us. It started when she was a kid, 7 years of age. Of course, I did not know at the time, but as I grew up and was planning to have a family of my own, we started having a lot of serious conservative conversations about the past. See, my parents, they told me about how it all began with small things, pennies from Dad's change jar, snacks from the kitchen. At first they thought it was just childish mischief, but it escalated. By the time she was in her early teens, it was absolutely out of control. She was stealing from classmates, taking their belongings and lying about it even. Yeah, I remember one incident vividly, even though I was quite young. She was caught with another girl's bracelet, a delicate silver chain, snatched up. The principal called our parents, and the look on their faces when they picked her up from school was literally ingrained in my memory. It was embarrassment, frustration, and helplessness. Dad almost hit her that day, but Mom was there to stop him finally. He got into a huge fight with Mom because she did not agree with his behavior, and my sister was actually the cause of many of our family fights. At one point, I thought my parents were getting a divorce. They could not agree on how to deal with my sister, but they did try every single thing in their power to help her. Therapy, strict discipline, grounding her for weeks, but nothing seemed to be working. It was like she had an insatiable urge to take what wasn't hers. Her thefts became bold over the years. She would start taking money from our neighbors and then randomly careless strangers. It was creating a lot of tension in this household, and I grew increasingly weary of her. I found myself always double-checking my belongings, locking my bedroom door at night, and the final straw came when she was 15 years of age. My parents had saved up for a mini vacation, something that we were all looking forward to. It was a rare treat, a chance for our family to relax, enjoy, and some time together. But a week before we were about to leave, a significant amount of money went missing from the safe in Dad's study. Well, yeah, it wasn't hard to guess who took it. She eventually admitted that she stole it to buy alcohol and to impress some of the older kids. I still remember the look on my dad's face when he found out. He looked miserable. For the first time, he hit her. Mom did not interfere this time. She just sat in the living room and cried. That night, she packed her things and left. Years would go by without a word from her. My relationship with her, or lack thereof, was a distant concern to me. So that's when she showed up out of nowhere, wanting her share of the inheritance, and as you can imagine, I was furious. She had been gone for so long, causing nothing but trouble, and now she wants a piece of what our parents had worked so hard for? I don't know, it felt so wrong on so many levels. I must admit, what I did after this is not the smartest thing. I came up with an idea of a fake check. It wasn't just about the money, it was about making a point about protecting what my parents had left behind and ensuring that she understood that, well, actions have consequences. I said that she could hold on to it for now because there's still a lot of paperwork that needs to be done before we can get access to the inheritance. Obviously, that was nothing more than a fat lie. Well, guys, now that I've calmed down a bit, I realize that I have no idea what to do next. I mean, legally, she is entitled to the inheritance. That's not a lie at all. My parents did not leave a will, because nobody would have expected that accident to happen, but I don't want to give her anything. I guess I'm still resentful that she has caused so much pain and trouble for all of us. And now she wants to take away from us even more. Isn't what she has done enough already for a lifetime? Life got so much better ever since she left. I mean, what do I do now? Should I just sue her or something? And if I do, what do I sue her for? Update number 1. Guys, thank you, everybody who left some very unique comments. I did not expect so many people to care about my family drama, to be honest. I've read everything. It seems like some of you think that I've been cruel towards my sister. Well, I will admit to you guys something, that I was a little emotional the first time that I wrote. But a few days have passed, and I think that I'm a bit more calm now, if I can be completely honest with you. I want to address a few things. I do. I understand where you're coming from, but let me explain further why I did exactly what I did. My sister's departure wasn't just an event that happened and then life magically went back to normal. It had a really profound and lasting impact on my family, particularly on my mom. So after my sister left, my mom developed severe anxiety. She became incredibly fearful and paranoid about everything. She could not handle being alone, and she was always on edge, worrying about my sister's safety, wondering where she was and if she was okay. It was heartbreaking to see her like that. She was not the same vibrant person, loving, that she used to be. Her anxiety was so consuming that she needed constant reassurance and support. Of course, things got better over the years, and she sought help, but I can honestly tell you guys it was just never the same. Oh, man, I remember those rough times. I love my parents, and I'm so grateful for them. But that doesn't mean that it's been easy for me just because I was their so-called favorite daughter, you know? Because of my mom's very fragile mental state, I had to make a significant sacrifice. For instance, I was offered a scholarship to go to college in a completely different state. It was a huge opportunity, something that I've worked incredibly hard for. But when it came down to it, I could not leave my mom. The thought of her dealing with her anxiety without me there, that's unbearable. So I turned down the scholarship. Yeah, I stayed close to home, going to a local college instead. It was not an easy decision, but I'd say it was completely necessary. This was just one of my instances where I had to put my own aspirations on hold to take care of the family. My father, too, he was very affected by my sister's actions. He didn't show it as openly as my mom, but I could see the toll it took on him. He worked long hours trying to bury himself in his work just to avoid dealing with all this emotional stuff. It was a strain. He aged faster, the stress showing in the lines of his face and the gray in his hair. The bright side of it, I could say, was that the three of us sort of bonded over that loss. I mean, what else could we do? We could only just stick together and make the best out of that situation. The most crucial part of all this is that my parents made it very clear to me that they wanted something after they were gone. Right? They specifically asked me to protect their assets to ensure that everything they worked so hard for would not fall into the wrong hands. They didn't say it outright, but I had every reason to believe that they were implying my sister. Given her history and the pain that she had caused, it just simply made sense to everybody. They knew just as I did that she could not be trusted with their legacy. When my sister reappeared demanding her share of the inheritance, I had to think about what my parents wanted. It wasn't just about the money or the estates. It was about the respect of their wishes and protecting their memory. My parents had given me absolutely everything. The least I could do was honor their final request. And if that meant being firm and taking a hard stance against my sister, then so be it. It's easy to judge from the outside, but living through it was a very different story. So feel free to have whatever opinions you want. But at the end of the day, I can only choose what's best for me and my family. And listen to the advice of the people who understand where I'm coming from. Anyways, I have a small piece of update for those of you who have been asking about what happened next. My sister did not suspect a thing about the check being fake and went to the bank to cash it on the same day. It wasn't long before the bank flagged the check as fraudulent, and she was reported, and it turned out that she had a crime recording in that state. So she spent the night in jail. Someone that bailed her out. That explained why it took her a few days to get back to me, and I've been blocking all of her phone calls and messages, of course, but I have a feeling that she's going to demand something even worse. The funny thing is, I'm not that anxious about it. I'm just sort of waiting for things to explode because I've realized what a big trouble she actually is. That's all I have to say, so I'll let you know when something happens. Thank you guys again for the advice and support. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's me. I spoke too soon. I didn't think that I would hop on here to write a new update just a few days after the last one, so my sister successfully reached out to me, and by reaching out to me, I mean harassing me at my own house. She really turned her anger towards me, demanding I take the fall for it. But I refused. I stood my ground, telling her that she had no right to any of the inheritance after being absent for so many years. She didn't have any more moral claims to it. And I made it clear, and I just knew that I wasn't going to get into any trouble with the law because I had not used my own name on the check. I just scribbled a completely different last name on it, claiming that I got married and changed my name. That was a lie, of course, making it seem like she had concocted the whole scheme herself. Anyways, I guess she did not expect me to be so cunning, so she was livid, and she decided to sue me, which I found absurd. But I did not mind it that much. In fact, I saw it as the perfect chance to bring everything in the open. So I let her sue me. Here's the thing, though. She doesn't seem to be well off, and I still have access to my parents' inheritance. Some digging also revealed to me that my parents disowned her before she turned 16, so legally she actually did not have any grounds to build her case on it. That, plus the fact that she can't afford a lawyer. So she only has enough to sue me for handing her a fake check. I do find it strange that my parents disowned her a year after she ran away, though. Does that mean that at some point they were in contact without my knowledge? It feels like something happened between them, and I have no idea what or how it unfolded. But there's not much that I could do to figure this out now. I did call her to let her know that a lawsuit is literally the dumbest thing she could do to herself right now. She was outraged on the phone. She threatened all sorts of things. Even said that she was going to, quote, let me go to hell and see mom and dad there. Some other brutal stuff I don't feel comfortable typing out, so I'm actually a bit scared. I tried to obtain a restraining order, but things don't seem to be possible on that front, because technically she hasn't done anything bad enough for the law to be concerned. It's frustrating, I'll tell you that, but it is what it is. So I just wanted to ask if anyone has been in a similar situation and figured out what to do. Am I supposed to just be bait and wait for her to do whatever she wants? Update number 3. Hello, it's me again, alive and, not so well. Guys, thank you for all the checking in on me that you've been doing and worrying about my safety. So, long story short, my sister did do something terrible, but it was not hurt me. Well, not physically anyways. In the last few months, we went to court. Yep. My sister got really creative and sued my parents. Yes, you can technically sue dead people, I guess, if you haven't known that already. The legal process is different, but it's possible. She's trying to claim the inheritance by blaming my parents for their long-term emotional and physical abuse. It's hilarious. The whole process was just tiring, to say the least. I had to ask for time off work just to deal with the whole mess. I wanted everyone to know who she really was. All those years of her chronic stealing and the chaos that she caused in our family, it was time for the truth to come out. During the court proceedings, my lawyer presented all the evidence of her history of theft, starting from when she was just a child. I detailed the numerous attempts my parents made to get her the mental help that she needed. All the therapy sessions, the disciplinary measures, everything. It painted a clear picture of somebody who has been troubled from a very young age and had never made any real efforts to change. She was enraged by this. It really looked like she was losing, because the jury was clearly more convinced that she was a chronic liar, and I guess the humiliation of having her dirty laundry aired in front of so many people was too much for her to handle. Last month, she started taking out her anger in the most unacceptable way imaginable. She vandalized our parents' grave. I couldn't believe it at first. Those graves were sacred to me. They were the final resting place of the people who have given everything to me, and seeing them desecrated like that, that's unbearable. I wanted to sue her for the vandalism, but after thinking it over, I decided it's not worth it. The process would be long and painful, and I wasn't sure I could handle another drawn-out legal battle. That's when my lawyer suggested something that had not crossed my mind. He said that her rage was really directed at me, not our parents. Also, he suspected she might have been in contact with them all these years, which was something that I had briefly questioned before. I do think that there might be a possibility that this is the case. Of course, I have a lot of questions, especially now that my lawyer has reaffirmed my suspicions. I mean, what had their relationship been like? Why hadn't there ever been a mention to me? Had they been trying to help her in secrecy? I didn't know what to think. I could not wrap my head around the idea that they might have kept something so significant from me. And if she had been in contact with them, why had she continued down this path of resentment? This whole situation was a mess. On one hand, I was dealing with the grief of losing my parents and the responsibility of handling their estate. On the other, I was just being faced with the sudden reappearance of my sister and the chaos that she brought with her. I felt like my world was being turned upside down, I'm telling you. I tried everything I could think of. I combed through old letters, emails, anything. And I mean anything that just might give me a clue. Nothing. I found nothing. If my parents had been in contact with her, they've kept it well hidden. So now I don't really know what to feel like, how to feel like, nothing. I don't know. Any advice would be great. Update number 4. Hey guys, I'm sorry for having disappeared for the last 5 months. A lot has happened, things I could not have imagined, to be honest with you. This is probably going to be a long, tiring update, but here it goes. Before I could find any concrete evidence about my parents' supposed secret communications with my sister, something far more shocking emerged during our investigation. My lawyers, while digging through my sister's financial activities, uncovered a disturbing connection. Yep, that's right. My sister had been working at a truck company, and it turned out that one of the employees from the company was the driver involved in my parents' fatal crash. This was already unsettling, but the situation became even more alarming when we discovered, that she and the driver appeared to be quite close. His relative had bailed her out when she was in jail for the fraudulent check incident, and this connection pointed towards a possibility that my sister might have been involved in my parents' accident. I felt really overwhelmed. For days, I could not get out of bed. The idea that she could stoop so low to be involved in something as horrific as causing our parents' death was beyond comprehension. I reported my sister's potential involvement in the car crash to the police. Then I called her. I know it doesn't sound like the best thing to do, but I wanted to hear it from her. I told her that I had found out everything and gave her one chance to come clean. She asked me to come see her, claiming that she needed to explain why she was so desperate for money, and I decided to go. I needed to hear it, no matter how twisted it might actually be. When I arrived at her home, I was not prepared for what I found. She's a mom. Her baby was only over a year. When I sat down on her sofa, she broke down in tears, confessing that her parents have been in touch with her all these years. First, they threatened to disown her and cut her off from the inheritance if she did not return home. We knew what happened after that. She was nowhere to be found. I became the sole inheritor. I guess my parents disowned her with hopes that she would regret leaving now, that they would no longer be any financial safety net for her to fall on. But they were wrong. My sister, she did not even flinch. My parents had no choice but to report her to the police, and funny enough, they did find her. However, much to their disappointment, she told them that she would rather die than to live a life she didn't want to. My parents were frightened that she might hurt herself. They reached a compromise where my parents would pay for her rent in a different state, as long as she stayed away from illegal stuff and, pretty much stayed alive. And just like that, my sister found a way to be financially safe, even though she was very legally disowned. She took advantage of my parents' feelings of shame and guilt, so all these years they've been sending her money on occasions. That explained my mom's continued anxiety and my dad's refusal to retire. But my sister told me that my parents stopped providing for her when she became a mom over a year ago. They were concerned that giving her more money would do more harm than good. This rejection had clearly pushed her to the edge. She felt abandoned. She felt betrayed. Honestly, I didn't know what to feel. I still don't. I don't. Part of me was furious at our parents for keeping this secret from me. Another part of me felt a twinge of sympathy for my sister's baby because all of this drama is just too toxic for a child so small. I was also wondering why my parents did not support her when she became a single mom. Why would they just straight up cut her off when she needed them the most? It was clear that our parents had struggled with how to handle her situation. They tried to help without enabling her, but it was not enough to keep her from spiraling. See, she said that she never wanted our parents to die. She just wanted to cause a little accident so they could file an insurance claim and give it to her. I know this all sounds very messy, and it is, but I also know that despite everything, what she did to our parents is absolutely unforgivable, and I mean it. So I still went ahead with my plan, sue me. I reported everything to the authorities, and I also quit my job, moved to a new place, and temporarily went no contact with her. I'm still not sure if this is the best solution, but as I wait for the lawsuits to unravel, this is the best way to process everything. Guys, I'll let you know exactly how it all goes down. Final update. Hey my friends, I'm here for the last part of the drama. So my decision to continue the lawsuit and go no contact with her was spot on. My sister's actions have crossed many lines, but soon it was revealed that she literally did not know where to stop. It turned out that the baby in my sister's house had been reported missing in another state. So, about a year ago when the baby was only a few months old, she stole it from an orphanage. But somehow she failed to realize that such behavior was, wrong. On the stand, she was going on and on about bringing the baby to a home that really wanted it. She wasn't just a troubled person anymore. She was a danger to others. The court case that followed was intense and emotionally draining. My sister was charged with fraud, kidnapping, and murder for her involvement in our parents' crash. The truck driver, Oh, he was charged too, all right. They admitted to hitting my parents on purpose, claiming that she only intended to cause a minor accident out of spite. Just because my parents had refused to send her more money to support the baby she had kidnapped. Hearing her confession was devastating, but also a huge relief to me in a way. I knew my parents only did what they thought was best for us, and of course, they would not want to support her in raising a kidnapped kid. They had not reported her to the authorities, perhaps out of a lingering hope that she might change, but they also could not condone her actions. It was also around this time that they went no contact with her, which explains why I could not find any trace of their communication at all. I guess keeping messages around was only heartbreaking to them. My sister was sentenced to prison. There, she would no longer be able to harm anybody. The child she had stolen from the place, well, it's going to be placed in my care. I made the decision to adopt him. He had been through enough turmoil and deserved a stable, loving home. I just saw it as an opportunity to do something good. Perhaps my parents would have wanted me to do the same. So, life has been going pretty well lately, and I don't think I'll write again. I got a new job. I even started dating again, which, hey, it's pretty fun when you think about it because I haven't had a real relationship despite being in my 30s. Well, I guess I was too busy making my parents happy and dealing with my sister and forgot to live life myself.